Welcome to the Power Within podcast. I'm your host, Laurie, and today I'm thrilled to have James McDonald on the podcast. James, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and do this.
No worries. Happy to be here.
So, I want to ask you I know that you have your Facebook community, you do coaching, you have a meditation group that you also do. I know prior you were a sales rep and you did a bunch of other things. So, I want to ask you how you got into what you're doing now with the coaching and the meditation.
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. Where do I begin? Oh my gosh. You know what? It started off with curiosity. When I was, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. Like when I was a kid, I was just curious about stuff. And like the strangest things, like why do people like red? Why do people like blue? Why? Yeah, just like the why question on
Mhm.
things. And I feel like I saw the world a little bit differently. My mum was more of the, do what you love, whatever you do what you love, do what makes you happy. And my father was more, hey, whatever you do it well. So it was kind of my father probably more the traditional educational guy, going to a school here in Sydney, pretty prestigious school. So education was like really important. And then my mum was more like the creativity and like the, hey, explore the world. And like, so I feel like I had they split up when I was quite young, but those two kind of components were there. And yeah, it led me to just trying to figure out what the hell I was here to do, and why was I here and why are we here and, why are some people successful? Why do some people have, trauma in their life or challenge? And it really just led me to, the guys like Tony Robbins. And then it led me to working in the network marketing space. I don't know if you're familiar with that industry. Um, and that led me to working on my mindset, business skills, sales skills, marketing, getting outside your comfort zone, and like the list goes on. So, and I started meditating when I was 21. This all happened when I was 21. So I left high school, and then 21 came around, and yeah, I was like, I got to figure this out. Like, I don't know who I am, you know. So that's kind of how it all started.
Okay, so now you had mentioned that you had worked as a sales rep for Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
how was that for you? Like, how was that journey? Because I think that was what you had talked about online. I was listening to one of your videos, and you said
Mm.
around the pandemic you were like, I just kind of stopped caring. Was that the job that you were in? That
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
So how was that like? How was getting involved in that and then working and then having that switch where you're like, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah, it was honestly it was a relief. When that happened, I just like I was finally myself. And so keep in mind I had been visualizing, you get you we we read the books and there's Joe Dispenza, love the guy, it's amazing. I got a book. Wait, no, I read oh yeah, I've got a book up in my bookshelf. Um and I'd been visualizing this lifestyle that I wanted, this person that I wanted to be for like 5 years, 5, 6 years. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it with this business. It's going to look like this. I'm going to go skiing. It's funny. I got a picture of me skiing in front of me as well. I love skiing. I love sport. And, and yeah, I, I ended up, a friend of mine introduced me to this bloke called Mars Sajati. And this was in 2016. Now I found the role. Well, I was actually headhunted. Someone actually called me, recruited me in 2017. Not from the Tony Robbins company, but from a company called Success Resources, which is in Australia. So they own the rights for um, um, yeah, Tony's programs in Australasia, so Singapore and Australia. and I think in London as well. And so yeah, that was in 2017. So I stumbled across this Mars guy in 2016, and he's talking about, your essence and your spirit and this and that, and your purest potential doesn't care what your mind wants. It's just, what's pure for you will hang around, and what isn't pure for you won't. Right? It has an omnipotent view of your grandness versus our limited view of our conscious mind. I was like, something in me was like, just hit me. I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about, but it feels right. Like, it just feels right. And I kept listening to him, but at the same time, and I didn't sense it at the time, but looking back, I was scared shit. Can I swear on this? I don't
Yes,
know
you
if I
can.
can drop.
Yeah.
I was scared shitless. I was super scared because, I remember him saying, your purpose isn't to do X, Y, Z, to save the whales, to make $1 million, to do this. Your purpose is just to be in sync with your brilliance, with your timeless self here, and then have that represented in the physical, and whatever that looks like is grand for you. And he's like, and if it's not that, then probably won't last. And so I kept listening to him, but I didn't do any of his programs until maybe 2019. And so since from 2017, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, because I was scared, right? Because I had created this, and this is what I kind of teach my clients now is that, and I shine a light for them, is that a lot of people and it's to no one's fault. It's been a great system, goal setting and all those sorts of things. But, a lot of people, and myself included, I was creating a facade. I was trying to find myself, which is amazing, but I was creating it outside of myself. And so, things yo-yoed for me, and they just didn't really stick. The goals didn't really stick. And again, I was healthy and I was doing some amazing things with my life. Again, I ended up selling Tony Robbins programs for 2.5, 3 years. And that was an amazing experience. That was also like a whoa, yes, and like the first day there, I was like super jacked. I'm like super keen, get it going. And yeah, it wasn't what I expected, behind the scenes. And I understand that, Tony can't, that's one of the challenges with a bigger business is you can't really, you have people that can sell well, but do they, are they my thing was integrity.
Mhm.
And there were some people that lived to breathe it, and then there were some others that didn't, but they still, they still understood the concepts, and they were fine to, sell things and help people out in that way. And I was like, all right, cool. But it just, by the end of it, I had a rock bottom. So I was actually had a day. It was one day where I had very intense suicidal thoughts, and this was after me. I went over to Bali in 2018. So this is about a year and a half after joining the sales team. And I was like, all right, I'm awesome. I've got my skill set. I've got a few clients. Let's go out to Bali and let's build this coaching business. And I just got whacked over there. I landed in Bali. I had a coach, but I just got, I thought I was confident. I thought I was stable. I thought I was, and some people might say, oh, it's your limiting beliefs and this and that. I'm like, well, yeah, absolutely. But again, looking back, I just wasn't stable in time. And I know that might not make sense. But so I had that 4 months experience, went back to square one. And yeah, at the end of 2018, I was like, damn, I'm depressed, and man, but I knew at my rock bottom, because again, of all the meditation and all the, the study with Tony and the study that I'd done, just informal education around spirituality, breathing, breath work, all those amazing things. When I hit that point, I was like, damn, like I'm here. Like, wow. Like it was it was totally non-judgmental. I was like, oh my God. Like, I know these thoughts aren't mine, like I know, the end it, why not? Like, why are we here? Like, what's the point? All those sorts of things. I was like, oh, holy crap, like I'm here. Okay, there you go. And then from that point, I just slowly started to kind of rebuild myself. Um, yes.
I was gonna ask you. So I know, like, in my own journey of like self-discovery and awakening and all that, I know for me, like, I used to be externally driven. And so it
Mm,
didn't matter really like what was I got to that point myself where I was like, okay, this is rock bottom because I don't care
mm,
about maybe everything looks like it's going great externally, but internally, it's not.
mm,
And so is
mm.
that something similar to, like, what was going on with you? And can you talk to how important it is to, like, be internally, aligned to really be
Oh,
truly happy?
oh, absolutely. It was for me it was actually both. It was both. In my rock bottom, I had my coaching business that I'd started kind of failed. My mentality was a zero. My finances were a zero. So I got there, but so I was zero, 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 zero. Sleeping in my dad's apartment. I'm actually in my dad's apartment right now, moving out in about a week. Um, and but prior to that, I had the things. I had the confidence. I had the skill set, the sales skills. I had, my coach. I had a lot of things around me that, you look at me and be like, yeah, like this guy's going to crush it. Like, he's been consistent and it's going to be amazing. But, again, I was creating an identity that was out of, say, my center. So if you imagine that an external version of who I was, and some of you who are listening, you might, just think about it. Do when you goal set, do you achieve the goal, or do you kind of nearly get there and then it gets taken away from you? How long does the goal last? Or if you do achieve the goal, is it, are you quickly onto, okay, well, what next? Are you okay? Well, that's cool, but I don't really feel that fulfilled. What next? Let's go into the next. Let's go bigger, you know? And that has nothing to do with going bigger and, that's awesome. That's amazing. But again, it's the coding and how you're positioned in time and space when you create yourself. So, because believe it or not, we're more unseen than we are, physical. If you look at a quantum atom and quantum theory. So, but I was unstable because I wasn't solid. So even though I had the things, I crashed and burned. Um, yeah. So,
And like for like when you were just talking about um like that centered feeling and you could,
mhm.
like how do you define like what that I call it alignment, you call it centered.
Yep.
What does it feel like for you when you're in that alignment, a centered space, versus when you know that
Yeah.
you're okay, I've gone out.
Yeah. I love that question. Yeah. So it's a feeling of tranquility. It's like, um, and the emotions vary, right? Because we are human. So you can be in alignment and still have a negative emotion come up. You can be in alignment or you can be grounded and still have guilt come up. But with the way that we do it, at Timeless, again, the company that I'm building, the coaching business, is that, if you say had guilt or if you had anger that was a tool for you that that abused you and that controlled you back in the day, yeah, your essence as it comes alive within you even more will look at that tool and will go, damn, that was a really powerful tool to control me. Let's flip it. Let's actually use this to then expand, to then come into harmony even more. So that's where, anger might be a really good tool. And this is where that psychology component, the Tony Robbins, move away from, your pains and whatnot, uh, kind of come into play. So instead of being, damn, I'm angry at myself and it burying you, it could be, man, I'm pissed that I operated that way, or I'm angry about that frequency in a family member, not the actual family member, but just the pattern that they're operating, I'm never going to be that. I can't live my life that way. And that'll propel you into, say, a greater state of being. Or it's very subtle. It's something that I didn't really get it when I initially got into it, and maybe we could do a little like 10-15 minute meditation at the end, just to give listeners an experience of it. But it's very subtle, but your mind, the chatter, just starts to, it's not really there anymore. You're just super in the now.
And like when you were talking about how you could see those like different versions of yourself that you've seen in the past and learn from those.
Mm.
But it is really
Mm.
important to also work through those things. I think a lot of people think, oh, okay, I'm just going to push it off. But those things are just going to keep coming back and repeating cycles if you don't work through them. And I know that because anger was something for me that I had to work through. Is that did you have a lot of that in your experience too? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has different experiences. We all have a different story. So,
Yeah, well, absolutely. And when I hit rock bottom, I got heavily into breath work. So that was like 2018. And then I went deep into breath work, doing like really, maybe 40-minute sessions nearly, every day. On my lunch break, I'd be breathing and just to regulate myself. And then, mid 2019, I heavily got into the frequency healing, or what my teacher would call exponential intelligence. And he's just labeled it. It's a knowledge that's in all of us. It's not like, it's not unique to anyone. It's a timeless knowledge. It's a timeless intelligence that lives in all of us. And so he had a couple of near deaths. Now he's had 3 near deaths. And he moved into, throughout them, I kind of, paraphrase them, but his first near death, he was it was a warehouse accident. And so he crushed his jaw and like pretty much he died. And during his death, he saw his body from outside of him. And so he was like, okay, if I can see my body here, but I am fully conscious here, like what is this? And it felt very homey. Felt, like he was at home. So I was like, okay, and that was in his 20s, I believe. Fast forward, and then fast forward into his 40s, he nearly drowned, or kind of nearly drowned in I think he was in a cenote. I think I could get that wrong. But during that near death, he felt like he elevated into this blue space, and then there was just knowledge. There was just like this hominess and just total. It was just pure, and then he's come back and was just guided to, say, meditate in a specific way, and whatnot. And so where am I going with this? So, yeah, so I'm not sure. What was the question again? I know
I'm not sure. I got so involved in that. I actually do have a
Yeah,
question though, because you've mentioned him quite a few times.
yeah.
How integral was it to have that teacher for you, and what has been the most important part of that journey for you to have that teacher who's guided you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's priceless. Priceless. I look back and I go, okay, well, I'm like, I think about where I would be if I didn't, have that guy, and Master's my guy. I'd most likely still be chasing my tail, and just, yeah, again, creating that facade, because now I see it in people. And it's not to diss on anyone, or it's not to, people are amazing. And most people in the personal, I mean, yeah, people, most people are lovely people, 9 times out of 10, you got really lovely people, when you get to know them. But now, again, with the abilities that I've cultivated that I never thought that humans would be able to have, I see that facade that some individuals are living from, and it's just sad. It's sad. They don't know it, because I didn't know it. I didn't know. I know that's like a big claim as well. Like, wow, like you can see that. So I can't, and people that move through the process, they start to see the world from a very different lens. So it's without him and without a few key players as well that were on, that I've met through his community. Um, uh, yeah, it's been paramount because I've definitely had moments where I thought I was going crazy, where I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, and this is after my down and out. This is after my rock bottom. Um, yeah, just like, why do I feel depressed? And that's another thing. And I'm glad that you brought this up because when people go through the process, it's intense. Like it's not a feel good method. You're not meant to always feel good as you go through this because, again, let's just say, and we'll just use this example because it's kind of my story, and I feel like a lot of achievers might. I'm not sure if your audience are, achievers or whatnot, but let's just say you've got your home here, you've got a solid foundation, and then you're creating yourself here, okay, and you're using all this. Let's get rid of the home analogy. Sorry, ingredients. You're using a set of ingredients. You're baking a cake. This amazing, delicious, you know, organic, sweetener, vegan, I don't know, keto, whatever it is, like an amazing, nutritious, lovely cake. And then you're creating another cake here. And the ingredients for that cake, say the sugar that was used or, whatever, lovely ingredient was used, was actually salt to create yourself in this reality. So they're the ingredients that we're using to build this reality. So if you're creating yourself from here, no matter what you create, you only have those ingredients. So for sugar, you have salt. So it's like whatever sweet thing you're going to make, you're in the kitchen and you have this amazing recipe. It's like, well, damn, I don't have this sugar. I have to use this salt. No matter what you make, it's going to taste crap. Okay. So I'm not saying your life is going to taste crap, but whatever you're creating has that ingredient laced in it. So the abuse, the self-sacrifice, the whatever it might be, the victim patterns, whatever it might be. So as we start to come back into our purity, which isn't, again, I don't really, I mean, yeah, I give people guidance and I share, things that I see for them and whatnot, but most of the time it's people experiencing themselves, the people living, and they're observing themselves. And that's what I really loved about Mars was he's like, I can't do this for you guys. Like, like you gotta do, like, I can bring you to a point and open up possibilities for you, but you're the one that's got to walk it. Okay. And sometimes that takes as you said, sometimes we repeat, sometimes we go through things multiple times and then it finally and then you get it. So back to the ingredients though. So when people move through the process, as you start to nourish yourself, all those ingredients, those old ingredients start to become obsolete. So now you're using a whole new set of ingredients, or maybe the same ingredient, just with a different formula, like anger, how we were talking about earlier. So now when we're creating, we have to look at our life and go, okay, well, I have to recalibrate everything that I've created because I'm now using different ingredients to create my life. So for some people, and it doesn't happen to everyone, but for some people, it means that their businesses go through reconfiguration. They might lose a job, really intense cases might lose a job. Their relationship dynamics start to shift and recalibrate and go through a transformational, it might last, it might not sure. It's not up to me. It's up to the individual's, say, essence. So, and mini depressions can happen as we transition from one house to the other. you know? So it's 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 not for the faint-hearted, but it's for people that really want to say, really just discover themselves, you know,
Yeah.
and then create from that new, yeah.
Yeah, in theory, it's easy, but actually when you have to do self-work, sometimes it's really not easy. And I like
Mm,
when you just talked about, that you go through different feelings because like, speaking personally, like from my own journey,
mm,
I know that I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna get awakened. I'm gonna learn all this stuff and I'm gonna be happy all the time." And that's just not the case. And you actually did a video
mm,
about this recently where you talked about
mm,
how it's okay to feel different things. If you're feeling down, feel it. And so like for you, how important is it for you too when you do have those feelings to immerse yourself in them and just say, okay, I'm here, I'm going to work through this until I can move out
mm,
of it.
mm. Yeah, so what we, yeah, absolutely. Especially for guys as well. It's like, feel, man. It's like, it's okay to feel, and, the consciousness, say, behind men, I mean, it happens for women as well, and maybe a little bit, but I mean, more men, I would say, they just hold on to their feelings, and they bury it. Or even in like the workplace, and maybe, for women that, might be in like the corporate world as well. It's like you just bury your emotions in the corporate world. It's like you can't, no, you're not allowed to feel. So, and again, it's like, what's that quote? It's like, something to do with poison. Anyway, you're just torturing yourself basically. So the key with how we do it, is that you observe your emotion. So you're kind of like the audience watching a film as best as you can. Okay. So, um, and again, it comes with practice and time. And some people get it straight away, some people don't. If people have, say, that letting go sort of principle ingrained in them, or they've really nourished that skill set again through breathwork practices, through other, say, practices, um, that can transition really beautifully. Where, yeah, if you have an emotion come up, you're just observing, like, damn, I'm feeling like crap. Interesting. Okay. You know, and it's, I wonder what pattern I'm releasing, or I wonder what frequency pattern, I can let go of to harmonize with myself even more. And then you just let it be. So the whole, it's letting your natural intelligence do the heavy lifting for you. So it's like getting out of the way of like, oh, what is it? Oh, I'm feeling this. Okay, cool. Well, shit, is that a limiting belief? That's why. Why am I feeling this? Why am I this? Why am I that? Why am I? And as if we dive into it, we try and figure it out, well, we're just burying ourselves in that timestamp, and that's a coordinate. I call it a coordinate. So, we're trying to move into a grander coordinate, but we overthink and we try and figure it out straight away. And as we're leaving, we just get pulled back. So the key is really just observing, and spatial referencing is a huge one. And for those listening, we'll do a little session at the end just to help you experience that. But yeah, it's about observing and allowing your natural intelligence to do the heavy lifting for you. So.
And you were talking about men and women, like the different things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been socially conditioned that men do, bury their feelings and stuff. So for you, when you work with the clients, do you
Mm-hmm.
have to approach it differently for men and women, or is it aside from the same of looking at it from the perspective that you just said of observing? Is it, do you
Mm.
find that it's more difficult for men, or it's about the same?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, my clientele is mostly women, you know. I think that can be said for, the entire personal self-improvement industry. There's a lot of, especially like the spiritual side of things, the frequency, vibration, and, that sort of stuff. Um, Sorry, I'm just kind of scanning, just my remembering my.
I
I would probably say men probably hold on a little bit more. Yeah. They probably think they're better than they are. They probably have like an inflated sense of self. Whereas women are more honest. From my experience. Um, but I've also worked with women that have been very controlling, that have been like, this is my way, and that we couldn't work together because I'm like, hey, like this is what I'm saying, this is what I mean, and they're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, that's cool, like it's your choice, and then um, that's fine. We can't work together then. It's not beneficial for you or me. So, but mainly it's not beneficial. So it's just not going to work. So. But yeah, and in terms of how I deliver and how I work, it's just the individual, so I don't really shift how I approach things. So, in a session, I'll guide people in, we'll spatial reference, start meditating. And then again, with the abilities that I've cultivated, I can see, say, the unseen side of people's lives uh, from a frequency, say, coding perspective. And then by osmosis, I just drop into, my space, and then I shine a light, or I just like a tuning fork, so like if you have like a tuning fork that's resonating, then another fork will start resonating in that way. And then my client will kind of look around again in that unseen side of things and go, oh, where am I positioning myself? Oh, wow, I'm positioning myself here, and a grander, a more beneficial version of me is over here. So let's move over there, and then throughout that process, we might release, family patterns, mum patterns, dad patterns. And it goes even deeper into generational, like, generations deep. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I know that, uh, you had talked about creativity a bit here too,
Mm,
going through here, and something that's important is letting go of things because we hold on to these, things in our mind that we want everything to go a certain way, and you have to have this
mm,
certain level of faith and,
mm,
uh, you know,
mm.
belief in God, universe, however you look at it, because you'll be guided that way. And I know
Mhm.
you had shared a story about how, like, after, you had started doing all this, one of your friends, when you hung out with him, had made a comment about how he noticed that, you were like, you seemed like yourself more. And so for you, that transition into that where other people could see, okay, now he really seems like himself and he's in a better place. Uh,
Yeah.
how like eye-opening was that for you to see it from someone else's perspective?
Yeah, on it was really lovely. Like, because I knew, and when he said that, I just was like, awesome. Like, it was like a thank you. Like, thanks, man. Like, right? Like, right? Like, it's me. So, and that's what I mean. Like, and when people go through the process and they start, some relationships might, fizzle or again recalibrate, and then some relationships will just like become really meaningful, even more meaningful. So, yeah, that moment was just, a massive confirmation for me, that I was on the right path. Well, that I was. There have been so many confirmations, and also so many chapters as well. So there's confirmations in each chapter, and then you know, there could be doubt in each, say, chapter as well. So, like for me, last year, 2023 was a whirlwind. Was a bit, emotionally, I was fine. Like I was cool. I was handling it fine. And, again, I coach basketball as well. So I coach young kids, and I was managing a six-figure, I was managing a basketball business. And yeah, I had questions of like, am I doing this right? Am I, and because again, it's an evolution, right? We're limitless. We're always evolving. You look at nature, and I mean, nature's the teacher, right? Nature is always evolving. It's always looking for the efficiencies on how to nourish its ecosystem. So it's the same with us. Same. you know.
And do you find like you just mentioned that you were working on the basketball business and then
Mm.
coaching the kids. Do you find that like creatively and everything that when you're working for something that's the greater good or beneficial benefits other people more, that those
Mhm.
things tend to open up more for you because it is something that's benefiting others and spreading that kind of goodness.
Mm. Yeah, I love this question. Absolutely. And and interestingly enough, I got into basketball for me. It was like it was this mutually beneficial thing. So mid 2020, right? I left Success Resources. I started Many Masters, my meditation group that's still active now, and I got back into basketball because I loved it as a kid, as a teenager. And after 6 months of training and everything in the gym was like basketball, weights, training, ball handling, let's just get back into it. And after about 4 or 5 months, it just occurred to me, I'm like, I like teaching. I love this. I love this for me. I love teaching. Why not just coach kids? Like, why not just coach? So, and yeah, because again, that passion was there and that authentic passion was there. It was easy for me. It was easy for me to learn drills, to find work, um, you know, um, to do all those things. And the cool thing is as well is that not only was I, when I'm teaching a kid basketball, I'm not just teaching them basketball, because again, my frequency and my vibe is bathing them, depending on how I'm positioned, and that's why, I really, being positioned correctly and in time is probably the highest priority for me, uh, because then it just flows into everything else. And the kids see that, they see that presence. And so I'm not only helping a kid with basketball, now I teach a little bit of tennis as well, um, but I'm helping them with their life, at a deeper level. So this is where healing doesn't have to look like healing, healing or, being a coach. It doesn't have to look like an NLP coach or, or even a meditation coach, even though I love it. That's what what I'm moving into, but both. You could be an accountant. You could love numbers, something that you're like, man, I just love like the physics and like of wealth generation, and how beating the system and all that sort of stuff. So if you support, over time, if you go through this process, over time, clients will like be attracted to you more because you're not only helping them with their money, but you're helping them with their entire life, but it's unseen. So it's such a cool technology. It's such a cool way of doing things because you're not even trying to like help someone. You're just in time, and by osmosis, people are going again. Might not think it consciously, but they're just going, "Oh, okay, so that's how. Okay, cool." Because it's in you. It's in all of us. So it's like it's very efficient.
So is that kind of like what you're doing now? Is that something that you were working towards manifesting, or was that something that has just kind of come along that was unexpected for you? Because sometimes what we're trying to manifest is not really, I've tried this
Uh,
a ton of times. It does not work out because it's not meant for me. And then
yeah,
so you
yeah,
have to kind of trust to follow that. Is that kind of the path? Because I know
yeah.
you did talk about manifestation.
Yeah,
So go ahead
I
and
love these
have at it.
questions. I'm like, Laurie, you're like rocking these questions. I'm like, gee, you are great. You're a great host. Seriously, a great host. Amazing.
Thank you.
Um, like, damn, she's great. Wow. Um, yeah, manifesting. So I didn't really, I mean, I materialized, right? I created that. Yeah, we're all creating, we're all manifesting. Everything in our life, we're creating, whether we like it or not. So, but I didn't really manifest the basketball. I didn't manifest that enjoyment and that coming back because again, back then, 2019, 2020 was when the goals switched off and the happiness and enjoyment and like the freedom, the liberation turned on. And so I just got into it because I was like, oh my God, like, man, I love this. Like, come on. And then that translated into the gym and health. And I was already healthy prior. I was already, I was in the nutritional space. Used to sell nutritional cleansing products. And so I was already in it. But yeah, I didn't really, and then even Medi Masters, honestly, I got into the healing, because it was like money, for men and, I think for women as well, but, the value for men is like money. So even prior to the frequency healing and exponential intelligence, the Tony, the breath work, all of that was so I could build a better business to create an income for myself. Because that's kind of like tied in with my self-worth, perceived self-worth. So, so when that all kind of moved, I didn't even think I could have these abilities. And, again, Mars would be saying on a group call, like, yeah, I'm the normal one. Like, the masses and the norm might be the masses, but that doesn't make it normal. And that hit me. I was like, holy, and I was like, I knew it. Deep down, I'm like, I knew it. Like, because I don't know if have you ever felt, I don't know, since I was a kid, I just was like, no, there's something, there's something special, about this. And I don't know what it is, but there's got to be more. There's got to be this thing. So, but yeah, I didn't really manifest. It just kind of all happened. You get these ideas, so are people materializing? Are people manifesting? Or are they seeing projections of the future that's already coded in them?
Very
So that's where,
interesting.
like, right? So, because you hear about the vision boards, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, did you think that and create that? Or did you have a program that then brought those visuals to your mind? For the people that it works for, the manifesting works for those individuals. And then, for me, my manifesting skills are pretty atrocious, because again, I was creating, I had other programs too, like very, what would you call it? Limited success. It's like the carrot and the stick. Hey, like it's right there, but you can never like get it. So.
And what about 2020? Because I know that that's where you said a lot of things changed for you. Was there a specific moment or event or something that was like triggered you that you were like, okay, I've had enough. I can't carry on like this, and I need to, I need to shift. Or was
Yeah,
it just a combination?
I think it was just an accumulation of stuff, and I think it started in 2016, because I did a program with Mars. One program, I had one session with him, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done, I'm good, woo, and let's get back into the business and do whatever. I left uni, so big shifts happened then. I actually dropped out of uni during the program. This confidence. I was like, man, what is this? I don't need to do this. Isn't me, So I dropped out of uni. So amazing things happened at that time. But yeah, I think it was just an accumulation of moments where, not that I was let down, but the truths that I thought were true weren't really true anymore. And I started seeing again how people were operating, and just, and again, it's not necessarily the people, but just the patterns that they were operating, and like the hustle, especially being in sales. Oh my gosh. And like, you got to you got to, like 8 hours. It's like 8 hours. or 9 to 5, 8:30 to 5, 8:30 to 5:30. It just, even in high school, it didn't make sense to me. Just like slogging it out for like, it's like, really? Like, surely, it just didn't make sense. So, um, yeah, and I suppose my own shifts and my own happiness that shifted when I went overseas. I went to CMAS, so because he lives in the States. I went to a program of his, a 4-day, and that was gnarly. That was so intense. I say I was ready for it, but maybe I wasn't. But um, uh, and after that, I had like a little decompression, mini depression, because I was like, wow, like what I've been creating, where I've been creating from hasn't been very real. It has, but so went through that, and then yeah, when I had that light, that switch with the goals switching off and the happiness switching on and not really caring and just being switching on, between then and about June, I just really didn't agree with the forms of, say, healing that I was selling, to be frank. I was like, I can't sell this anymore. Like, I can't have these deep conversations with people and see what they're, because I just don't believe it anymore. Like,
And you did talk.
it's important, but there's there's more. There's more. It's not. This is like, so yeah.
You had mentioned at the beginning of the conversation how important it was for you to be in integrity, and
Yeah.
that's something that's really important for me as well. And a lot of people sometimes will sacrifice that for the bigger outcomes. So for
Mm.
you, how important has that been to be like keep yourself in integrity and not sacrifice that for you know the bigger picture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so important, and yeah, I got to be integral with myself. Um, and it's not to say that those things don't work. It's more of where a person is coming from when they enter those things. You know, Again, even with breath work, I see some challenges with it. Really long breath work journeys. You can actually leave your body. And I've had clients that have kind of went off a little bit and then they've come back, and I'm like, whoa, like, what happened? It's like, like are you astral projecting? Because again, they're leaving their bodies and moving into these other realities, right? And it doesn't happen for everyone. But in those situations, it's like, you imagine you're driving this amazing car. Like, think about your dream car, you know, and you leave it in the middle of the city at like 2 a.m. where there's, parties going on and a bit of crime maybe, and you just leave it there, the doors open, the keys are in the car, and you just walk off, you know? So, well, someone's gonna drive that thing for you. So yeah, integrity is a big one and something that I am leaning more into, because I know that some of my opinions and the way that I see things are different to some of the individuals in the industry. So it's a muscle that I'm like, because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and that I don't want to ruffle people's feathers and that kind of pattern. But what I've come to understand is a lot of people actually feeling the same way that I've felt. When I've brought it up, people are like, "Oh my gosh, like, dude, I went to a thing and I felt like something just wasn't right." I was like, "Yep, probably because you were feeling it, and you were seeing it." So, um,
And I find when you are living in integrity too, though, you are going to ruffle people's feathers because
yeah,
you're not going to compromise. So that's kind of a hard one because, you won't
yeah,
sacrifice
you
yourself
can't.
for that. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't be your best without. Yeah, you have to. And also, who's your audience? For give me a sec. For for people that are business owners, it's like, well, who are you speaking to? Like, who's your yeah, who's your audience? Not everyone's your audience. Not
Yeah.
everyone is your tribe. So, and
And
that's
if you're,
good.
yeah, and I know, like, one of the big things that I've learned is that if everybody likes you, you're probably not living in integrity because you don't have boundaries. And
Yeah,
so, or you're letting people violate those boundaries.
totally.
So yeah, that's an important one. And I know that you've talked about your meditation that you do.
Mm.
So for your class, like, do you just strictly focus on meditation, or do you bring in journaling, or what goes on with that?
Yeah, really good question. And at the moment, it's the sessions are meditating, spatial referencing. So, I mean, we could. Do you want us to go through a little experience?
Yeah,
Maybe,
we can definitely end with that.
yeah. Um, um, yeah, I mean, we could just do it for a few minutes just to get, because it won't take long for people to feel something. Maybe a little bit longer. So, um, so just, but it's meditating. So we drop into those deeper states, but then there are, say, other recommendations come up in a session. So someone say femininity, feminine side, or their womanliness or their creativity or their inner child might be coming up. So I'll suggest, I can kind of see, I had a client where I'm like, dancing, dancing for you after this, and spatial referencing as you dance. And just, again, this is where it's not about things. It's where are we operating from when we do them. So, Dan, I've even recommended a Tony, listen to this Tony Robbins video, like a belief cycle thing. Because again, that layer, I call it the layer of creation. So it's like you have your source code layer, which you're brilliant, timeless. And then there's layers, there's filters that we create ourselves through. And then there's the physical layer. So it's a physical representation. And, we've created ourselves through those filters. So, but sometimes we get stuck at this layer, at a mindset layer, at a psychology layer. So, I've recommended clients to watch the belief. I don't know if you know the belief cycle with um, Tony, but so it's not just meditating. It's not just like, um, yes, we drop into it. They're the sessions, but then outside of that, it's like, hey, when you walk into a room, where's the wall? Where's the window? Where's the bookshelf? Where's my body? Okay, it's all to do with positioning yourself. So, um, yeah, so we could do like a little, just a quick one, like 5 minutes. So if you got this far listening, I mean, it's up to you.
Oh yeah, no, 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 we can definitely do that. We can actually end it with that, but before we end that,
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
is there anything else that you'd like to share, or talk
yeah.
about with what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to check it out, you can go to MediMasters. You can just, or you could email Laurie or me, or you can look at, I don't know if my links will
I'll
be.
put your stuff in the show
Um,
notes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So just experience it for yourself. Jump in if you're curious, experience it, and then just, if you're drawn to it, there's something in you. For most people that have gotten this far, there's probably something in you that's going, damn, something, I don't know what it is, but something is ringing true in me. So if that's you, then yeah, let's have a chat. So because again, it's in you. It's not. It's in all of us. So
Yeah, and I think you tend to find, like, I know when I started working with my life coach, Lynette, she was amazing, and you
mm,
find those people and you're attracted to them when the time is right. So whether
yeah,
it's something that you listen to or something that you see, you had left me the comment and I was like, I'm going to go look at his stuff. So I started looking through it and I was like, oh, I really like what you're sharing. Want to come on? So
mm,
I
mm,
think it's great, and you'll find those
awesome.
people.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I
Cool.
will let you go ahead and wrap this up with, we can do your
Yeah,
meditation. So the stage
yeah,
is
yeah,
yours.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The stage is mine. Where are the lights? Um, all right. So, and yeah, when we go through this, guys, um, try and take it with you as well. So, um, so for everyone listening, you can sit, you can stand, you can lie down, whatever it might be, uh, and just take stock of where you are. So even listening to this podcast, there's actually been frequencies that have been generated throughout this talk. So you might even felt quite calm over the time of listening to this. So just noticing where you are, so looking around briefly, and then closing down your eyes. Noticing what you can hear, the sound of my voice, the sound of anything else around you. And just letting go of any expectation of what meditation or what, a session or whatever it's meant to look like. So just letting go of any preconceived ideas or whatever it might be, and just experiencing what you experience as you notice what you can smell. Noticing what you can taste and then touch. So again, taste buds. If you've had a drink or dinner, lunch, snack, any residue, and noticing the temperature of your room, if you're inside, outside. And then noticing the clothes on your skin. Again, the clothes on your skin. Noticing your external environment first. And then noticing your chin, point on your chin. Then going back to an object in your mind's eye, remembering, say, the chair or a bookshelf or the wall or a window. It's in your environment. If you're outside, just selecting a single object. Noticing that object. And then noticing the distance from that object, just guessing it in your mind's eye, your senses, the distance from that single object to your chin. Noticing how that makes you feel. Again, external environment first, so the object, and the distance from the object to your chin. And if you want, you can ask yourself this question as we wrap it up internally. How can I connect to my purest source possible even more? How can I connect to my purest potential even more as you notice your sternum? And just letting that question be. You don't need to figure it out. And for those listening, if you want to just stay in this space, just notice how quickly you dropped in. I highly recommend just staying here in this, mini medi. And for those of you that have got to be somewhere or whatever it might be, bringing your attention back to your surroundings, you can open up your eyes when you decide, not when I say so, but when you decide, and just noticing that object again and the distance from that object to your body. That it lives in all of us. And for most people, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that stillness, and you might not have that stillness straight away. You might have things that just need to be cleared. So just if you do decide to just experience some of the medis, just hang out. But we're just at the end of the day, we're just looking for ourselves. That's really what it's about. And then it's when we find ourselves, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Now let's express that. Let's represent that. Let's create that, even more of that. So
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I appreciate it so
no
much.
worries. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Likewise.